There are certain house positions that are quietly draining the life energy out of a good many families, and the people living inside have no idea it is happening. The house still looks handsome, the gate and the doors are still neat and tidy, so nobody imagines the trouble could be coming from the position of the house itself. And so the years go by, one after another, while the health of everyone under that roof slowly weakens, and the money they earn never seems to stay. According to form school Feng Shui, which is the branch that reads the shape of the land and the buildings around a home, the position of a house is like the patch of earth where a tree puts down its roots. A tree growing in a sheltered spot with deep soil can turn green and full. But a tree growing on a slope, in a place where the wind cuts through, stays stunted forever, and no matter how you feed it and water it, it will not grow. And once that tree has taken root, you cannot move it anywhere else, so people put up a fence to block the wind and pile more soil around the base, and only then can the tree start growing again. A house works the same way. The position of your house was settled the day the foundation was poured, and you cannot change it after that. But softening the bad side of that position is something you can still do. Of course, shielding a house afterward is always more work than choosing a suitable position from the very beginning. That is exactly why in the old days, before putting up a house, the first thing our grandparents did was find the right piece of land, and only after that did they think about whether the house would be big or small, how many rooms, and how many chambers. These days, most of us buy a house that is already built and move straight in, so very few of us stop to think about whether the house is sitting in a bad position. So today, I am going to share with you 4 house positions that deserve the most attention, along with the remedy for each one. As you watch, compare them with your own home and see whether your house is caught up in any of these bad positions. Because when a house holds on to its life energy, the people inside eat well, sleep well, feel healthier, and at least part of the money they earn stays with them. All right, let us get started. Number 1. A road, a utility pole, or a sharp corner pointing straight at the house. Quite a few families have a house sitting right at the head of a straight road, or at a T-junction where the road runs straight up and drives into the middle of the front door. Some houses have a utility pole or a street lamp standing right out front, or a sharp corner of the house across the way aimed straight at them. In form school Feng Shui, meaning the branch that looks at shapes, land contours, and the objects standing around a house in order to talk about energy, this is called road rush. It goes by another name as well, the hidden arrow, meaning an arrow fired at the house that nobody sees coming. Energy is supposed to travel in a curve, to move slowly, to gather in front of the door and then come in through it. Instead, it goes racing in one straight line into your house like an arrow. So the energy never gathers, and it drives straight into you and the family living inside. When you live in a house like that for years, your sleep is the first thing to suffer. You lie in bed at night while cars go past, headlights sweep across the wall, and the noise carries right to the head of your bed. So you drift off for a while and then wake up again. Night after night of broken sleep. And during the day, your mind may never feel quite clear, your blood pressure runs up and down, and your temper flares over things that hardly matter. For this house position, the first thing you should do is put a layer of shielding between the road and your front door. You can build a low-screen wall just inside the gate, or line up a row of large potted plants with sturdy trunks and thick foliage set across the path the energy is taking. That layer of shielding forces the energy to go around, to slow down, and only then does it come into the house. If your gate lines up with the road, you should move the gate off to one side. Just shifting it over is enough, and the energy no longer drives straight at your front door. For houses with a utility pole or a sharp corner aimed at them, plant a tall tree with a wide crown to hide the pole from view, or hang heavy curtains at the window on that side to block some of it. As for headlights shining in at night, use double-layered curtains in the bedroom and move the bed so the headboard is not sitting right in line with the traffic. Once the energy is no longer racing straight into the house, everyone in the family can sleep more deeply at night. And when you sleep enough, you wake up in the morning with a clearer, sharper mind for the big decisions in the household, which in turn helps the money stay put for the long run instead of running off into things that lead nowhere. Number 2. A house that sits lower than the road. The second position has to do with the floor of your house, and it is when the floor sits noticeably lower than the road outside, so that walking in from the street you have to step down 1 or 2 steps. The reason this position is avoided is that the energy of heaven and earth is divided into 2 kinds. One kind is called clear energy, meaning the air and energy that is fresh, clean, and light, and this is the kind that nourishes human life. The other kind is called murky energy, meaning the cloudy, dirty, stagnant kind that neither plants nor people can live well with. These 2 kinds of energy do not sit mixed together. Clear energy tends to rise upward, while murky energy sinks down low and settles there. A house that sits lower than the road falls right into that layer of murky energy, so day after day the whole household breathes it in, while the fresh, clear energy floats up above and drifts away. On top of that, a piece of land is always judged best when it is high and bright, because that is where healthy energy gathers. When your house sits lower than the roads and the houses around it, it usually ends up pressed down by that road and by the neighbors, and this is called being held down. A house in that pressed down position cannot lift its energy up at all, and the people living inside often find themselves squeezed and boxed in at work. From there, whatever you do goes slower, you have less strength for it, and your spirits are not as eager as they once were. When families run into this, I have noticed they usually buy a dehumidifier and run it all day, prop their furniture up higher, and in the rainy season, some even stack sandbags in front of the gate. That helps to a degree, but the root of it, the position of the house itself, is still sitting right there. So you should raise the floor of the house up higher than the road. This can get expensive, so think it over carefully. But if you are able to bring the floor up above the road, the murky energy can no longer pool there, and it makes room for the clear energy outside to come in through the door and reach every room in your house, so life there can grow and thrive again. And if you cannot raise the floor right away, open a skylight if the house has room for one, or add high windows in the darker rooms. In the morning, throw the doors and windows wide open and let the sunlight and the breeze in, instead of keeping everything shut all day. For rooms the sun never reaches, use bright lights and leave them on even during the daytime. Inside the house, you can also pull the beds and cabinets a little away from the walls so air can move, instead of pushing the wooden furniture flat against them. Blankets, bedding, and clothes should be taken out into the sun now and then, rather than shut away in a closet for months on end. Once the floor is high and dry and the sunlight reaches the doorstep, clear energy can finally get into every room of your house. When the life energy in the house fills back up, you sleep more deeply, and you wake up with the strength to work. The older folks in your family will feel healthier than they did before. Number 3, the front door lined up with the back door or a window. This third one is among the most common positions in houses and apartments today. Try standing outside your front door and looking straight in. If from that spot you can see all the way through to the back door or see a large window directly opposite, then your house has the front door lined up with the back door or a window. In the practice of reading houses, this one is called piercing energy, meaning a current of energy that shoots straight through the middle of the home. When good energy comes in the front door, it is supposed to linger inside, wind its way through the rooms, spread evenly through the whole house, and only then drift back out. That is the only way the energy has time to nourish the people living there. But when your front door and back door sit in one straight line, the energy comes in and immediately sees the way out on the other side, so it follows that straight line right back out. It has no time to linger, and it never spreads into the rooms of your house. Living in a house like that, you and your family often run into illness and ailments, especially anyone who sits for long stretches in a spot right along the path the energy is taking. It is the same with what the household has saved. Every dollar you earn has something waiting to be spent on, so hardly anything stays. So you should put something in the way, in the space between the two doors, to make the energy go around and slow down before it leaves. You can set up a folding screen, a tall shoe cabinet, or a display shelf right in the middle of that straight run. Whatever you use should be wider and taller than the doorway so it can block properly, because if it is too low, the energy simply goes over the top of it. If your house is tight on space and you cannot fit a cabinet or a screen, you can hang a heavy curtain at the back door. It has to be thick fabric, hanging closed from top to bottom. If you pick a thin curtain or a beaded one, the energy still goes right through and slips away. You can also set a large potted plant with thick, dense leaves in the space between the two doors. The plant blocks the path and brings more life energy into the house at the same time, and it looks more natural to the eye than a screen standing in the middle of the room. And if you are remodeling or building new, do not let the two doors line up in the first place. Just shifting the back door off to one side takes care of it. It costs nothing extra, and it solves the problem at the root, so the energy no longer shoots straight through the house and instead starts spreading evenly into the rooms. And once the energy can gather, what the household earns stays in the household, and you can finally set some aside for your long-term plans. Number 4, a house that narrows toward the back. These are houses with a wide, roomy front, but the farther back you go, the more the two sides close in, so that the back edge is noticeably shorter than the front edge. With a shape like that, energy comes in through the wide front, and the deeper it goes, the more it gets squeezed by the walls on both sides, packed into a smaller and smaller space until it jams up there, unable to spread out and unable to get away. And the back of the house happens to be the part that feeds the later years of the whole family. By that I mean the years of old age, and what you leave behind for your children and grandchildren. When the back of your house is cramped and dark, the later years of the family thin out along with it, so no matter how hard you work, when you look back, the results never match the effort you put in. What is more, once the energy jams up at the back of the house, the innermost rooms are left with almost no healthy energy to nourish them. When you or a family member sleeps in one of those rooms, health slowly weakens, food loses its appeal, sleep at night is never deep, and in the morning there is no strength and no heart for anything. So in my view, you should rearrange what each room is used for. Keep the main rooms, the living room, and the bedrooms in the square, even part at the front. The narrowed part at the back can be used for storage, for keeping things, for the laundry, meaning the places where nobody lives or spends long hours. Next, you have to get light and air into the back of the house. You can open a skylight right above that narrowed part or add a high window in the back wall. If you cannot open anything up, put in lights and run an exhaust fan so the energy in there keeps moving instead of sitting still. Remember to keep the back of the house tidy as well. Do not pile things up in a mess, and do not let broken or worn-out items sit there. The space is already tight, and filling it with clutter only jams the energy up further. For houses where the narrowed part is so tight it is almost unusable, you can build a section of wall or raise a tall column at the missing corner to bring the floor plan back into balance. Some families set a large ceramic pot or a decorative stone right at that narrow corner, which is another way to steady the back of the house. Once you have the back of the house bright, airy, and tidy, the energy that reaches it can still move, instead of getting packed in and jammed up the way it was before. Then the work you put in has somewhere to settle, and whatever you earn, you can hold on to. In the end, when you are choosing a home or fixing one up, understanding and avoiding these 4 bad positions will keep your living space open, bright, and able to gather clean, healthy energy. Remedying those positions in good time helps build back the health of your whole family and keeps your mind clear. And from there, your work and your business go more smoothly, and your good fortune holds steady over the long run. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. In future videos, if there is a Feng Shui topic you would like me to talk about, just leave me a note down in the comments. And do not forget to hit subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. I wish your family good health, a warm and peaceful home, and a house that grows brighter and more prosperous every day. Goodbye, and I will see you again.